Remember how we were talking about the Memento Mori? I believe that's what it's called. This is a Vanitas, at least according to spogelsemaskine. So welcome back, everyone. We're going to take a look at these works here. Some fascinating works. A nice early start for me. Maybe you can see it with the bags under my eyes. Welcome back. Artist Journal, February 23rd, 2023. And as I say those words, I think of the James Webb telescope. I don't know if you're seeing those images. I actually brought up a couple because we are in the business of images over here, particularly, images on the bleeding edge of, our culture, and technology is intricately intertwined with that situation. So we're actually going to look at a couple just to give you a taster because, again, I was tempted to start with that, but frankly, you know why I didn't? Is because I didn't know enough about what was going on. So I thought, okay, we can touch as I learn, and maybe on a future episode, should we get some stellar images, we will begin with that on the cutting edge of technology and science and visual culture over here on this program. Welcome back, everyone. So spogelsemaskine. I missed this work. This came out on Valentine's Day. A poetic work, a romantic work, a beautiful work. Look at this. So what is going on? It is not sold yet. A reserve of one, or buy for now for two. So, spogelsemaskine has sold for an ETH and probably more. So these are, good prices here. And so let's see what happens. I mean, I think it's a really nice work. Again, nice and small. And someone explained this to me. And I actually kind of figured it out half on my own at some point. It's 640 by 480. And what this times 2 is, it means times 2 magnification. So what you see here is 1280 by, 960. That is what's going on here. So when you see the times 2, it doesn't mean there's depth as if you're calculating space. It means that it is at a 2 times magnification. Because you can often do that with pixel art. You can simply render at 4x or 10x or whatever the case may be. So very interesting. So maybe that will become a new, for lack of a better term, nomenclature. I'm not sure what the correct word is. And just, I bring up these works. I'm kind of seduced by them, but then I don't always look at them closely. And it's quite an interesting work. I mean, this fruit bowl here is and the fruits on it and everything on this, table, of dithered table and still life here are basically coming in and out of existence. I mean, and quite beautifully so. So just a nice creative work here, and the glass has fallen over, kind of reminiscent of a Dutch still life, I guess Vanitas. And I brought this up for us because I'm learning here along the way too. I was like, well, what exactly? And I think Ile had mentioned Vanitas at one point, and maybe we even discussed the definition a little bit. But if you're like me, I need a little bit of repetition in order to figure these things out and to really kind of get it rock solid. So let's look again. So a Vanitas, a still life artwork, which includes various symbolic objects designed to remind the viewer of their mortality and of the worthlessness of worldly goods and pleasures. Well, there you have it. So there's a lot going on in here. And what's also quite interesting here? I mean, we return to this work now with this extra knowledge, and then you start going, there is almost like what you might consider classical Christian iconography here. We have the bread and perhaps wine glasses here, the body and the blood of the Savior here. So, within the context of this being a Vanitas and this being, should it be? I mean, it's also possible that this title may not mean that. Like, maybe it's just a title. But I think we can assume that Spogel is, making reference to what we're looking at here. Now, we also looked at Memento Mori, I believe that's what it's called, and Rune Tune, Memento Mori. And Runetoon gave us an excellent definition, but again, if you're like me, let's just contrast this. Art history definition. A memento mori is a Latin phrase meaning remember you must die. A basic memento mori painting would be a portrait with a skull but other symbols commonly found in hourglasses or clocks, extinguished or guttering candles, fruits, and flowers. Closely related to the memento mori picture is the Vanitas still life. So there we go. So if you're wondering how to parse that out, it sounds like the memento mori, with emphasis on memento, emphasizes, you might say, iconography relating to time directly. A skull, right? A hourglass, time. Whereas the Vanitas seems to be a bit more of a reference to the spirit and the transitoriness of physical existence. Welcome back, everybody, and look at this. So this is how I ended up on Spogelsmaskinen's page, is I did see this, and these came out in a very interesting series here. This came out, I believe, 2 days ago, February 21st, Metamaterials, and I love the scientific imagery and subject matter mixed with the retro technology, communications technology on these pieces, whether it's a newspaper, and then I guess science with the microscope, but then we see maybe some sort of ham radio or something and a typewriter. So, again, a tribute to the scene and the sophistication that is going on here. And so you can see that in quite a, again, this, I'm in the museum in my mind here, and I'm not thinking twice about whether this belongs here or not. I go, of course this belongs here. So anyways, available for 1 ETH by Spogelsmaskinen Reserve. And there are 4 others in this series, and we'll take a quick look at those. And so here's the Apple computer with some kind of almost alien Terminator 2-esque material here in the middle. And the beautiful retro technology, a cassette recorder, Apple tapes. So maybe that was the Apple One, perhaps, I'm not sure. And another flag. There was a flag in the last one too, I believe a Brazilian flag, and this looks like a Colombian flag. Bogota, Colombia, 1975, 1976. I mean, literally, this looks like maybe it is in a contemporary art museum. I mean, Spogelsmaskinen, I actually think he may have shown in museums before. I'm not sure, but it wouldn't surprise me. Let's put it that way. So, pretty cool. And here are just a couple of more. Nye County, Nevada, 1996. Oh, well, you gotta love this. You have to love this. This makes me want to buy this. I can't afford to spend an ETH on this. Pahrump, Nye County, Nevada. Art Bell's radio station, you could argue a great inspiration for this program. One of my great inspirations there, there's Terence McKenna, there's J.G. Ballard, there is who else? I mean, Art Bell is probably right up there, as you can imagine. An anonymous, and for those who don't know, he is a world famous radio host. The great Art Bell, who passed away a couple of years ago. An anonymous army sergeant begins mailing late-night radio host Art Bell medals and a story alleging the recovery involving the mailer's grandfather of a down-wedge-shaped craft in the 1940s in New Mexico's White Sands Proving Ground. So Art Bell did a lot of, conspiracy. He pioneered late-night talk radio. So if you know Coast to Coast AM, which still exists, he began that program. And then he had a couple other programs after that. So and if you want some entertaining radio, go find Terence McKenna interviewed by Art Bell. He was on a few times, and those are legendary pieces of radio. And generally, you can find them on YouTube. Once in a while, they will take them down. Look at this beautiful one of the Commodore 64. So, and a nice U.S. flag there, and someone's office, and what looks like a meteor here. Council Bluffs, Iowa, 1977. So you gotta love it. So super cool. Very cool. Speaking of radio, Artist Journal on Rug Radio yesterday, we did well. It was an awesome episode. I think Runetoon was saying it was his favorite. We got a nice crowd here of 280. Well, it was actually about 70 who tuned in. 286 have listened so far, including the people who tuned in. Not bad numbers at all. Where are we with AI art? So thank you, everybody who came and spoke and who showed up. It was a very nice crowd. And a lot of people were, my favorite comment on it was, I think, from MVP, and shout out to MVP who showed up at the end and said some really interesting things, was he thought it was a really well-run Twitter space. And I totally appreciate that, because that is kind of really what we're up to, partly in that, domain. You want to make sure your space is well run. So anyways, come on down. If you ever want to be on the stage, we love to hear from people. And it's really free press for yourself to get your name out there, which as an artist is essential, right? So anyway, thank you to Anna Dart, Roger House, and Runetoon, Kant, everybody who showed up there. It was a ton of fun and a great conversation. So you can find that on my feed, and that'll be up in Spotify shortly as well. So this came up during yesterday's Spaces, where I was asking Anna Dart just about what's going on in terms of, just galleries and, how is AI art actually getting out there? Like, what is she seeing? Because she's much more kind of in the middle of it, in the middle of things there. And so this is something that seemed to fit into that whole idea, because she said, there's a lot of, there's a gallery in Milan, and there's also this show, ClownVamp, who's also doing I think part 4 of his visual novel, and he posted this deepfake. So this is going on MAIF, which is one of the main, you might call it, collectives, and they have a show with Super Chief, which Anna Chief was mentioning, actually, in downtown LA. So Super Chief is all over the place. They're in the World Trade Center. I think they're maybe in Europe and also in LA. Deepfake. So that is happening. So, there's Sabato, Varia, so a lot of familiar names, Redrum, kikanicolela, who we'll look at in a second, and Von Doyle, so isn't that great? So anyways, just a heads up. Shout out to PaulieJojo. This was actually quite hilarious, at least from my perspective. Raw AI generated by an emoji prompt. So it looks like he put in Pocobelli with the emojis that I put on Twitter with my name. Aliens on the Beach is what I call this. I actually have a work, I should dig it up, from like 2000, where I have a UFO on a beach, which was the cover of my first mixtape, which is kind of the inspiration there. Anyway, he puts in a raw prompt, and this is what comes out. And I was thinking to myself, I think I know who I want to produce this movie, which is the Kurt Hustle Collective. That would be wonderful. KHC, you're more than invited to make this awesome movie. I love it. You put my name in. At first I thought it was like, really? You put in Pocobelli and this is what shows up? How perfect is that? But I guess the emojis were a part of it too. Anyway, thank you, Paulie. That is hilarious. And thank you for sending that to me. Just a couple of comments. From Santiago, thanks, Adrian. Yes, the Forbidden Art Party is DALI and the DALI Outpaint. I hope I can tune in tomorrow. I'm waking up late for the last couple of Wednesdays and missing the Spaces. All good. Get your sleep, Santiago. And this is really nice from Eternity. I look forward to the next episode. This show has become an enjoyable habit. I'm glad to hear that. And I really try to put your time to good use here. And also, Jonathan Gibson, yes, clever, rare marketing, but begs question of security around ownership control. Already plenty of witty artists sitting in cafes without cash. All this is mood of system fragile and exploitable. So, yeah, I was talking about the his Twitter profile, and I don't think Rare did anything wrong at all. I think he was simply, if anything, probably, if I had to guess, maybe my guess, and I don't know anything, but he had posted the Boston Dynamics dog that had made a little bit of a mess in the owner's room, the urinating dog or whatever. That would be my guess as to why, because it sounds like he was just typing into his Twitter and it was just deleted immediately, removed and whatever. So I don't think so. All the NFTs are secure, unless I'm misunderstanding the comment here. But my point with that is that this could happen to you. This could happen to anybody, any of us. So the NFTs are secure, but the Twitter, you don't control that. So anyways, shout out to Rare, and everybody give Rare a follow. If you are missing him in your feed, it's Where's Rare, at Where's Rare. But thank you for the comment, Jonathan. And I appreciate you've left a few comments, and I totally appreciate it. Just interest in the show is always appreciated. A quick thing on Tezos. You may have noticed that Tezos was going higher yesterday while everything was crashing. This is the reason. Google Cloud to become validator on Tezos Network. Now, this doesn't really affect digital art so much, but the tech giants' corporate customers will be able to deploy Tezos nodes to build Web3 applications on the network. But this does impact us because, as you'll see here, I mean, we're at 141, and it's been a pretty steady climb here from $1.28 on February 22nd. Okay, that was yesterday. So this is the 1 day. Let's just look at the 30-day chart here. Yeah, so Tezos is on a tear, and Google Cloud using Tezos, that affects us. So we're at $1.41. So it continues to be interesting. And again, I mean, crypto has come back a little bit in the last few hours. But yesterday you were seeing everything going down while, Tezos was up way up here, up 10%. So kind of interesting. And speaking of Tezos, big shout out and congratulations to kikanicolela, who we have featured on this program. I have some huge news to share with the whole Tezos community. Just signed the contract. I am now a curator for object.com, sharing the load with magnificent Cabling1. And Cabling1 is a very nice person as well. And so anyways, congratulations. And I think that's super cool. And they've been doing a pretty good job from what I can tell. So anyways, they have more help there and it should be interesting. So just kind of a cool note, someone from the community, they made the curator. And I think that's really cool. Vending NFTs so we have more details on the Uxine tezvendmachine. You can check if you're on the allow list. And here is the Google spreadsheet. So if you left your Tezos address in a tweet a couple of days ago, you'd be put in a raffle to see if you can bid or to use the tezvendmachine, which has a whole bunch of Uxines in it, as well as a one of one. So it's not cheap. It's 100 XTZ or Tezos, which is 140 US to use it, or 280 to get 3 shots. So it's not cheap, but Uxine's work goes for a lot of money. So you can check here if you are on the allow list, and that is that. I think it's maybe February 29th, so in a few days, but double check on all that information on their Twitter. And Janis Surdis, Greekdx, I just thought this was interesting. He posted a generative photograph by HerbertWFranke. Now, HerbertWFranke I don't know a ton about, but is kind of a renowned, I think he's German, but I'm not positive, computer artist. I brought up his images in a second here, but this is a generative photograph. So anyway, we always love to track, as we say, travel through the mediums, and here is a great example of basically, a generative photograph by HerbertWFranke. Let me just bring up HerbertWFranke. So this is HerbertWFranke, and so kind of early computer art here, as you can see. Yeah, and there's quite a few German, DAM. See, that's the Digital Art Museum, Wolf Leser. Yeah, so this is, so looks like Wolf owns some HerbertWFranke, okay? And so Wolf was on this, Wolf Leser, the director or the person that runs the Digital Art Museum. He was on digital art before it was cool. And he even wrote a book that I have over there that I've shown on an earlier show. So anyways, so I'm not sure if they still have openings in Berlin. Looks like they might. Well, I'm going to have to go and visit, maybe take some pictures. That is at the end of the year. We'll see what's going on there. Anyways, HerbertWFranke by has, here's one of his photographs. So he was traveling through the mediums, not just keeping it. And it was very important back then because, frankly, before NFTs, which is only 2 years ago, that was the big challenge, I'd argue, of all digital artists. It was probably one of my main preoccupations working digitally was how do I sell this stuff? And that's where the whole traveling through the mediums kind of mentality came from for me, because I always had to think of how is this going to work physically, because I can't, volunteer forever as an artist. I, want to make something I can sell. So here was one solution. And continuing on, here we have the NASA Webb telescope. And this is just, again, to keep on top of things here and not get disconnected. And I guess, who can put words on this? But what I would say to you is never lose sight of the big picture. Okay? Never lose sight of the big picture. Whatever is happening in your life, it's astonishing what is out there. As Terence McKenna said, quoting a 1920s scientific writer, not only is the universe stranger than we suppose, but it's stranger than we can suppose. To quote Terence, quoting early 20th century science writer, whose name I do not remember. Well, here you go. The universe is bigger than you can suppose, okay? So there are some pretty interesting images coming out of the James Webb Telescope. Now, for those that don't know what that is the new version of the Hubble. The souped up version of the Hubble. It was 10 years late, and they finally got it working, from what I understand, about 6 months ago. Images started coming in, and now they're really coming in. And so, worth paying attention to, okay? Because this is, everything else that's going on kind of pales to a certain degree in comparison. And look at this, just finally. Before we jump into the images, James Webb Telescope detects evidence of ancient universe-breaker galaxies. Huge systems appear to be far larger than was presumed possible so early after the Big Bang. So in other words, they're calling these universe breakers because whatever our model of the universe was, it may be in the process of being dismantled, because these aren't supposed to be there according to our theories of the Big Bang and everything, our models of the universe. So, these massive and ancient galaxies are being found, okay, that shouldn't be there according to our models. So showing how little we know at the end of the day, right? So don't get too wed to any opinion. As Socrates says, the only thing that I know is that I know nothing at all. And again, it's a wonderful place to be. Ed Merola, Fallen Star. So keeping on the astronomical theme, with a mysterious work from Ed Merola, and what looks like a hybrid creature here. I see a little tail that almost looks like a devil's tail with bird feet and holding a mysterious, goblet of some kind, or even a beaker or something chemical that is glowing with almost a Pope's hat. And here, it's quite surreal, isn't it? And again, him kind of working, as he was saying, oftentimes with no plan, it really does become a somewhat of an investigation of one's own unconscious to a certain degree here. And you got to love it. So anyways, interesting, odd perspective, everything. The star pointing down, fallen star, one of one for 155 Tezos, which now is $219. So this could be great for the artists, really, this higher Tezos price. I love this work. This is a classic, another portrait by Ed, Micasso working. So if Michael Micasso, inspired by fellow pixel head Michael Micasso, every time I look at the dithering tool in Aseprite, I remember your work. That is an important tool, as he mentioned in an earlier tweet. And so here's Michael Micasso working, and maybe a reference over here on the left to some of the structures that are in Michael Micasso's work. And there he is on his laptop, and you gotta love it, with a little hat on, just like one of those figures in one of those one-of-ones, and of course, the vase, the purple vase, the mysterious purple vase. And look at this great dithering over here. So anyways, super duper cool. Edition of 11. This must have sold out instantly and sold for, basically in an hour and a half at 10 Tezos a piece. Ile was the first on the scene, and Sabato there, Skamra. Shout out to everybody. This is awesome. hasdrubalwaffle. And again, that's the great thing. This is all like the last 48, 72 hours here. Just so much creativity here. hasdrubalwaffle, now hasdrubalw. This went out, edition of 7, and a guy playing his guitar. And so, again, working with the kids drawing software, kids painting software, and it's just looking awesome as usual. I feel like he can almost do anything. And look at the great floor, and, but you have to give him credit for all these great contrasts that he's making, say putting the patterning here for the Marshall speaker, a nice representation, and then the nice kind of drawn in Marshall. So very cool, and the mysterious devil and just a face, and what looks like a Kiss rocker shred. So shredding the guitar, I guess. And how did this go? Let's just look quickly. This went, okay, so a couple were sold, one offer taken, very cheap at $420, and then canceled listing, and then a few transferred, and there you go. One to Ile at the end, and so anyway, congrats to all, crying over you. hasdrubalwaffle again, and another portrait, and this looks like, again, more kids painting tools, and very cool. And just again, nice touch. Like, the temptation here would be, okay, you just keep this kind of acrylic 3D looking texture art the whole way, but no, then he puts a pattern at the bottom and it just adds interest. The orange nose, it's easy to kind of forget all that stuff. So anyways, cool work from hasdrubalwaffle. Low edition of 3, sold for like accepted offer of 10. So, canceled auction of 10. So anyways, it looks like he can put in offers. He's a pretty nice guy. He might be happy to, give it to you if you put in a nice little offer. Gloomtube with a new secret stamp, Singularity Stamp. Maybe he's looking at the James Webb Telescope as well. And here is a figure coming from the Earth. Kind of a mysterious piece, to be honest. I'm not sure what is going on, but we love Gloomtube here. And just kind of, I'm not sure what this is about. Singularity Stamp, So as if the universe came from a singularity, you wonder if he as well is looking at that James Webb, these images, and just wondering and looking out to the great giant cosmos out there with a nice big genuine smile on his face. They are inspiring images. The Art of War, rustic digital art. So a new work in the kind of Crop Mario series, or what's he call it, the Cloud period. And so anyways, just kind of, it looks kind of militaristic, doesn't it? With this army of Crop Marios here, army of Crop Marios there, are these missiles, and then maybe, a crucifixion on top of a bunch of bodies there, maybe a rare commentary here, and then a whole bunch of bikes or something here, and then Crop Marios as crucifixions maybe that are also missiles. Perhaps. Buy for 4 Tezos, edition of 12. There are 6 left. Interesting work. Quilanina with another digital work. I think her 5th, The Spell. And she is out of, I think, where is she out of? Let me just check here. From Argentina, Peru. And she does a lot of this, what I'd call mystical or, kind of visionary, is, kind of gets grouped into the psychedelic camp a little bit of psychedelic art. So here is something, The Spell. And so anyways, so here, maybe these are, witch doctors, shamans, who knows, but something magical maybe is taking place here. And again, just kind of interesting, edgy portrayal of, say, like this house, what could be a church, but it's on a mountain, not worrying about perspective, and these great plants that come up here. And again, the cosmos in the background. This is almost reminiscent of that painter whose name I forget right now. What is his name? I'm sure you all, where the guy is horizontal, early modernist painter. It'll come to me. I'm sure one of you knows exactly what I'm talking about, feel free to leave a comment. Yeah, so anyways, just cool work from Quila Nina. RJ with more clues on his work in progress here. So he posted this. And so yesterday, I think we saw just the up close of what's on the computer. And now it looks like this is the studio with some pizza, a burger, and some fries. It's at night. And anyway, just more interesting work from RJ. And Venta with some interesting digital painting. I mean, Venta I often kind of group in the AI section, but this is digital painting. I mean, it's just using a different tool, which is what I'm tempted to think is a kind of sample brush, right? And that's why you get all these kind of repetitions here. Interesting portrayal of the sky, I thought. The sun right in the middle with also some texture there. And again, interesting, loose kind of portrayal of the grass. And these flowers, and almost like a Francis Bacon-esque head here. So anyways, just kind of interesting work. Poetic title, Man and Beast. Edition of 10 for 6. So pretty interesting. A interesting digital painting. And I feel like this could hang in the same room. This Lorna Mills here, Light Ideal animated GIF. So interesting contrast here. I mean, these kind of look like bed sheets maybe. And maybe some air being pumped into the bed sheets or something with a strong, strong contrast to that red. I think Wolf introduced me to Lorna's work like 5 or 6 years ago. Wolf Leeser was giving a presentation. He's like, yeah, Lorna Mills, she's great. And he probably has some of Lorna Mills' work, I imagine. Anyway, here is a work by Lorna Mills. Sad Girl, Permeable. So again, playing with the glitch and anime. And so just pretty cool, work here. I don't know if we have any details. No details on how it was made, but pretty cool writing here. Edition of 11, sold out, or actually not sold. Are they sold? Just offers so far for about 7 Tezos. Again, it's all getting more expensive, isn't it? So anyways, cool work. And while we're in the glitch section here, I want to just look at a couple of posts that LexSokolin put, and I think Sabato might have retweeted this, which is why I saw it. Glitch art is so it's a definition according to Sokolin, based on maybe what Sokolin knows and everything. Glitch art is a subversive response to the overwhelming dominance of technology. Interesting. It's a window into understanding where digital disruption can break down. In this thread, we explore the art of glitch. I'm just going to look at a couple of these posts because I don't want to get too far into it because I think we get most of it at the start anyway. Glitch aesthetic dates back to the late 1970s as video game consoles become popular. They're computing hearts broken down into a distinctive machine artifact. So again, those Nintendo ROM glitch works that we see, say, by Haiti Rocket, this can be traced all the way back to the 70s, according to Sokolin. LexSokolin. Consider Jamie Faye and the below art generated by messing around with a game cartridge. And we see this, ancient-looking start screen, select game. So pretty cool and pretty interesting, isn't it? Kind of looks great, doesn't it? I mean, especially the old work here. And another prominent early artist is Menkman, whose work brings forward the algorithms of encryption and encoding that we find in digital objects. So again, just to give us a taste of what we're dealing with here, these things are the texture of our electronic communication, like capillaries under the skin. And I feel like there are some very tangible physical art pieces that play on the same ideas. So, as you know, the meat of it, I think, is in those first posts. And then, a photocopy. This is pretty cool. A physical version of the glitch. LexSokolin. Xerox photocopy also comes to mind. Ian Burns' Xerox book, which consisted of a sheet of paper that was repeatedly run through a photocopier until the artifacts emerged and overtook the page. So, very cool concept, right? So again, this idea of art as a somewhat scientific pursuit, because it's just experimenting. It's a visual experiment to see what happens. It's not quite quantitative. As I like to say, this is qualitative science. That's why it's kind of valuable. It's not just a pretty picture, right? And so on. And Sabato, we'll look at Sabato before we move on here. I love the work of Sabato, who transitioned from being a photographer to glitch artist and started to discover some absolutely astounding images as early as 2014 using pixel shifting algorithms. And we were just looking at some of his Google AI Dream art yesterday. So anyways, you can check that out. I'll actually make sure to retweet that. So if you want to find it easily, just go to my feed. Espinoza. So here is some just interesting video work. I'm not sure if it's glitch. Analog Spirits, another experiment of the No Signal collection of analog video glitch explorations by Espinoza. So I've never seen Espinoza before. All works in this collection are CCO, which means they are public domain. All credit goes to Nature, which is the original creator. Video Signal, Strange Loop, Spectraloom, CRT TV, iPhone, After Effects. Traveling through the mediums here. Very cool. Edition of 10 by for 5. And here's other work by Espinoza. I think Cultural Alchemy, which is pretty cool. So some recent kind of nice video glitch work here. Analog Spirits 4 and 5, TLAR 1. And here's some work by Tezos. So we know Tezos from the furniture series, the modern furniture. So here's some stills by Tezos. Buy now, edition of 9 for 1 Tezos. So quite cheap and just a still, VHS Dream. And here is another one, VHS Dream 0174. Kind of looks like a storm here. So interesting work. And so here we go. Here is his page, Tezos' page. And of course, we recognize all these wonderful works here. So this is the latest from Tezos, some stills from a VHS player and whatever else is used. Glitch David, Nature's Distortion number 3. And I don't think we looked at this. And I thought that was just kind of an interesting glitch here that fit well into our glitch section. Very cheap, edition of 5, buy for 2 Tezos. So a nice addition to your glitch collection for almost nothing. Cellular Telephone by Ex-Mortal, who shows up again. So an awesome work here. We love the retro iconography, like a old cell phone. And it is rotating. I mean, a classic kind of trope in this scene, isn't it? And here, beautifully glitched out, you know? So just the richness here. Again, this idea of a rebellious response to technology that Lex was mentioning there in his first line of his definition, if I remember right, that is interesting because it kind of creates a kind of a cultural role. It almost gives it a political dimension, right? Art is a, you know, and not in terms of the traditional political spectrum, but almost as a response to society in general and to technology. Okay, that also has to be kind of factored in sometimes. Sometimes, you know, art can be political in a far different way than traditional politics, which is interesting in itself and actually gives maybe avenues for creativity in a lot of ways. So here we see a response to technology that has nothing to do with the political spectrum, which is interesting in and of itself. Cellular Telephone, now it's $17.90. This stuff just flies off the shelf, okay? It looks great. Muji has one for sale. We're gonna look at Muji's work in a sec. And this went for 5 Tezos on primary. So a lot of familiar faces there. Native Ed, Rediscover Communication. Never forget and share what you've learned. Preserve the words. Not everything will be written on books, and future must know. So continuing on with the Web3 kind of series, pretty cool. This video and 2 hands in a spiral. So pretty interesting. I guess that's a GIF. That is a GIF. And that is an edition of 20. And yeah, that just came out. And continuing on, Cap'n with a new work that kind of was reminiscent of an older work. So pretty interesting experimentation here. Shinboku 2. And of course, we remember, and we're going to look at these other works where he collaborates with Muji in a second here. Yeah, remember this work here? This looks like the first one down here. So I guess here's the second one. Interesting piece. I think they look great. They're dying to be like printed or screen printed. Just beautiful. Look at how easy. That'd be a 2-color screen print. So that would be pretty cool. Muji Device 001, 200 pixels by 200 pixels. You gotta love it. So again, likely using deluxe paint on this one. Yeah, D-Paint 2. So there you have it. And Cap'n and Muji have been collaborating. So I thought I'd show these together on a series called Timeless Travels. And so here You can almost see Cap'n is doing the background here, what looks like the still part, and Muji is putting this other work in here. So interesting collaboration, created using GIMP and Deluxe Paint 2. Here's another one, and edition of 22. Interesting colors, almost those Cap'n colors, and then Muji coming in. I feel like I can tell who's doing what here. And another one, interesting landscape, Beyond the Skies of Dreams. Interesting. And continuing on, the Cat Tarot, a new one has come out. The colors on this one are subtle and gorgeous. I picked up a few of these today because I just felt like they're low edition, and there's just something inherently collectible about these works, and the museum in my mind was incomplete without a few Cat Tarots. And so here's Strength. The 8th tarot card alludes to internal fortitude. You are overcoming your concerns and developing emotional sturdiness. Represents a lot of qualities besides strength. Strengths includes having a brave attitude, being able to keep your composure in stressful situations, and working well with people despite imperfections and good quality. That is true strength, isn't it? When this card occurs in your reading, it suggests that you will encounter some difficulties that call for tolerance and patience in your romantic, professional, or interpersonal relationships. So an educational opportunity here provided to us courtesy of Manitoul. Shout out to Manitoul and these beautiful, beautiful works. And they're so small, 121 by 170 times 10. Okay, but like that's tiny. So that's pretty cool. Tom Bombadiluss with another pixel artwork. This is called Titanium. And I thought this was quite inventive. It's always inventive with Tom Bombadiluss. And so there is his signature very lightly at the top. And I love it. Just, someone, I guess, welding or something on the edge of the canvas. So pretty cool work. One of his characters there with a little bit of sci-fi going on there. Buy for only $5.99. So buy it for a song. Someone is selling it almost for cost, so you can still get that, I think. Here's Santiago, the endless experimentation continues. So we're actually just talking about GLTF files and this whole kind of 3D. This would make a beautiful ticket, wouldn't it, for a show? And maybe some, I don't know what that is. Maybe just some gibberish there. But pretty cool looking work. And there is the writing in the work. And anyways, just kind of interesting from Santiago. Very interesting. Daniel W., The Alchemist. So another quote from Carl Jung, who is obsessed with alchemy. True alchemy was never a business or a career, but a genuine opus to be achieved by quiet, self-sacrificing work. So again, I believe for Carl Jung, alchemy was a metaphor for kind of, the fulfillment of the soul, or the reaching your potential, so to speak, so I think alchemy was sort of seen as this kind of grand metaphor. And you see it also in all of the imagery and the iconography, such as the snake eating its tail. And so Daniel W. is doing some referencing here. I'm not an alchemy expert, but you know who loved alchemy? Max Ernst. And you see there is a great book, I think it's called Max Ernst and Alchemy, where it goes through and shows where all the alchemical imagery in Ernst's work, and it is all over the place. Very interesting stuff. The more you kind of attach yourself to culture as an artist, iconographically speaking, kind of the more, I would argue, on a rudimentary level, the more significant your works become. On some levels. Maybe not all levels, but on some levels. One could make that argument, okay? Flora Marquez with a couple of beautiful works from her daily journal here. So heads that are almost like tomatoes here. So pretty cool. Buy for $6.66. So someone picked this up on Primary, Captain Kimmy, and they're beautiful one-of-ones. This one you can get for $22. Someone picked it up just to make a quick flip, I think, because, someone bought it for $15, wild.tez, and they just want to make a few tez on this because they know it'll sell. So here's another one with kind of a broken vase with someone in it and some plants coming out of it. I'm going to speed up here, guys. Rosetto with a new work. Now, this looks like it was burned, so let's just take a quick look at that. Nocturno. Okay, edition of 10, buy for 10. And it is another moving sketch, a dynamic sketch here, as we saw some of the, or it was. Now maybe this version isn't. PNG, so maybe got rid of the moving. Interesting. I like it anyway. So buy for 10. Beautiful collage and illustration here. Nocturne. And we're going to speed through this here. This is gorgeous. One of my favorite digital collage artists here, Porta Malmar, with another one here, which is super interesting. Look at that. I almost started with this. This is beautiful. I almost picked this up. This is 30 Tezos. It's a 1 of 1. It's pretty nice. 4 people talking loud, and we have a couple more here, or look at these, LSD FLOWERS. So pretty interesting. Again, you see like the digital masking that's going on, the digital shapes, rendering this collage modern. Without the digital, masking here in the super smooth shapes here and these super circular, perfectly circular circles here. Without that, you could argue, well, this could have been made in the 70s, but with this, it's like, okay, this is clearly made in the last, 10 or 15 years, if not more recently, with this technology here. So anyways, another Flowers series. Those would go nice together, wouldn't they? I think they're all still available. Actually, this one is not available, but the other one is still available for 30. So anyways, this is Porta Malmar's work here. Just a quick overview. Nice piece there, all over the place. So just keeping at it. I used to think quality over quantity in terms of my own production. That is, I think, how most people start. But there is a point where quantity creates its own quality. It's nice to be very prolific. And that in itself is persuasive. So House of the Model, new cool track. So here is the Tezos party, I guess. It's a window into our future, ladies and gentlemen, because Tezos is going to the moon, as you can see. And now we're dressed beautifully and we're all hanging out and partying because we have made it, my friends. We have made it. So, cool track, buy for 2 from House of the Model. Big shout out. Look at this, imagesoftheweek.tez. These are AI works, okay? And I thought they were quite interesting. I mean, if it's raw AI, it's like, okay, make me a collage with an old photo in the background. I don't know how they make it. We were discussing this yesterday on the Twitter Spaces. Artificial memory. So this is AI. So how can artificial intelligence imagine new memories? Here's another one. Again, this stuff looks like it's just came out of a Berlin contemporary art gallery down the street here. Like it would fit right in and maybe even like make things look a bit brighter. So anyways, here's some of the other work by imagesoftheweek.tez. And yeah, not too much information. So different experimentation here, but I thought this AI series really was very interesting and pretty impressive. Here's another AI work by Delta Sauce as we wrap up here. Kind of slightly different direction. Someone in a gallery and looking at a room, almost like a Delta Sauce room. And it looks like maybe works by Delta Sauce on the side. I think I recognize this one here. This one's bluer. So anyways, just kind of playing with images and images, which we often see in this scene. Here appears to be another AI work. This is Marco De Angelis. So proud to show my latest minting work as a 1 of 1 on ETH at Superchief at NFT Paris. So Superchief is global here. They are everywhere. Co-curated by Claire Silver. Amazing lineup of artists. So anyways, nice piece. I imagine raw AI. A friend of mine sent this to me from out here in Berlin. He thought it reminded him of my work, which I didn't understand until this morning. I was like, oh, maybe this masking here, these sort of flat masking. Anyway, this is an interesting artist, Max Naylor Art. I just love the color and the shapes and everything. This is oil on canvas, I think. Oil on linen. Big, 115 by 105. I mean, not huge, but pretty beautiful work, eh? So anyways, more beautiful physical work to round out our view. And that is our show. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining me again. I hope you enjoy your day. And until next time, take care.